teams in no specific order, just to make sure we have everyone. All right, thank you, first of all, for your patience. As you know, any great event sometimes has hiccups, and you guys have been amazing with your patience and really sticking with us as we continue to navigate some of this stuff. So thank you so much for that. So I'm going to start with Raleigh Durham. Really? Let's try that again. Raleigh Durham. That's what I'm talking about. San Fran. Act like you're going to the final 3 rounds and see how loud you get there. Okay, San Francisco. All right. Atlanta. St. Louis. DC. Chicago. All right, Dallas. Kentucky. Central Florida. Greater Maryland. Philadelphia. All right, Houston. All right. Paula, we have everyone here, so if you want to come and let everyone know what's going on. But before she announces, so I got a couple logistic things to walk through with you. Once we announce who is moving to the final round, I need you to come up after you've been announced to come and take a number from me. That number has first, second, and third. That means if you get number 1, what does that mean? You get on first. Yeah. And we will not have mics in the traditional way, but we will have these. You can turn them on, just pushing the button, and if there's 4 of you, I think you can use 2 mics, and they don't make any noise when they're together, so that's the one thing I was worried about. That's why we did the mic test. So you'll have 2 mics. You know what to do up here, so these are the mics that you'll use. Hopefully we have surround sound too, so it should be good. All right? So first, second, and third. If you are one of those final round teams, you cannot be in this room at any point. Say that again. You cannot be in this room at any point. So once you get your number, I'm going to ask you to meet me in the hallway, and we're going to talk about where you'll go after that. All right? Are we clear on that? Yeah. All right, and then one more thing. You guys remember, as a chapter, you get to vote for one team that you think should win. So this has to be a collective vote, because this vote that you do as a collective will also help support who wins and moves forward. So it almost weighs as well. It doesn't almost. It weighs as much as the judges score. So we want to make sure that you're all paying attention, and we know that you've worked really very hard. And so if you don't move forward, just know that we know that you did great work. I have not heard any disappointing comments from anybody, any one of the judges. So are you ready? Yeah. All right. I'll let you want this. I'm going to try it. Okay. So you can use this one.
My mic sound nice. Check 1. My mic sound nice. Check 2. My mic sound nice. Are you ready? Woo! So before I tell you who the final 3 are, I have to say one thing. Seriously, okay. So before we were in the room before and the judges were giving you their feedback, how about they had me hemmed up in a corner talking about how fabulous you are. Yes. One of them in particular has done this for graduate students, undergraduate students, and he said that the teams in his room would mop the floor with MBA students. So you all should be completely proud. Yes, and one of the judges said that you all motivated him to reactivate his membership in National Black MBA and to get involved. So you all are not leaders of tomorrow, you are leaders of today, and I just needed you all to know that. Okay, so our final 3, in no particular order. After I've said all 3 teams, I'm asking you to come up to the stage and join me. No particular order. First team, in no particular order. Chi-Town. Yes. My Chi-Town homies. Next up, in no particular order, ATL. And last, but certainly not least, because again, we are in no particular order, Raleigh Durham. Yes, so Chicago, Atlanta, Raleigh Durham, come to the stage. I don't see anybody moving, Lord. One representative from each chapter, come to the stage.
I'll give you a copy. No. No way, you know that. You've trained me well. That's okay.
during your presentation, I'll indicate when you have 10 minutes left, and when you have 5 minutes left, and then when you have 1 minute left, and then you'll have 10-minute Q&A session, and I'll indicate when you have 5 minutes and 1 minute, okay? Everybody with silence your phone, start.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. First and foremost, CTW Strategies would like to thank you for entrusting us with the opportunity to provide recommendations for you, the Netflix company. CTW Strategies is a consultant firm based on the principles of Netflix. We believe in innovation. Not only that, we excel at it as well and desire to assist Netflix in orchestrating a disruption in the market of entertainment. My name is Jordan Tolliver. I'm the chief strategist. And now, allow me to introduce you to my remarkable team.
I'm the creative director in charge of marketing and public relations. My name is Jannar Cornet.
And my name is Braden Ward, and as the innovation officer, it's my job to implement helpful changes to improve a company's efficiency, productivity, and most importantly, success.
Our team is CTW Strategies, and we've been assigned to accumulate recommendations for Netflix, which not only increase profit, but customer growth as well. The wise Reed Hastings once said, "Companies rarely die from moving too fast, and they frequently die from moving too slowly." Now, Netflix is a company known for its innovation, risk-taking, and groundbreaking achievements. For being the first company to offer mailed-in entertainment, then integrating the World Wide Web into their service, Netflix has sustained greatness while simultaneously disrupting the market of entertainment. But even the greatest companies encounter challenges along the way, and Netflix is not an exception. But my team and I at CTW Strategies believe we have constructed the best holistic strategies for Netflix, which not only increase profit and customer growth, but align with the company's core values and principles as well.
In evaluating Netflix using SWOT analysis, Netflix has struggled with subscriber retention since having lost around 200,000 subscribers and is approaching $15 billion in debt, which has given competitors like Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, and Hulu an advantage. Despite that, Netflix strives for a more global outreach and to preserve its reputation as the streaming disruptor. My colleagues and I at CTW Strategies are confident that we have the solutions your teams have been searching for.
As a whole, Netflix is a company that possesses great influence over the streaming market. Holding about 50% of all streaming service subscribers, they're the clear most dominant player in their market. But even with their great influence, they are not invincible. When analyzing Porter's 5 forces in Netflix's perspective, they're most affected by competition in the industry and power of customers. The other forces are a major concern for Netflix due to its level of maturity. Streaming competitors such as Disney+ and HBO Max have caused Netflix's market share in the streaming world to dwindle. Furthermore, since Netflix makes its profit mainly through subscriptions, the recent falls in subscribers have caused them not only to lose money, but also influence in their market. Now to our first recommendation.
Thank you, Braden. The acquisition of GoGo Commercial Aviation. Redefine your competitive advantage globally. Have you ever desired for the enjoyment of Netflix streaming while it missed a long, boring, unpleasant flight? Anybody? Our first strategy for creating profitable return for the Netflix company would be the acquisition of GoGo Commercial Aviation from their holding company, Intelsat, which acquired the company back in late 2020. The acquisition of GoGo Commercial Aviation would bring Netflix a surplus of profit, expand their global reach, and boost their higher income customer base.
Hey Jordan, why would a hefty $500 million acquisition be worthwhile for Netflix?
Well, Braden, the return of this acquisition outweighs its price exasperatingly. For starters, this acquisition would give Netflix the full revenue of GoGo Commercial Aviation, equating to about $550 million annually, giving a full reimbursement of this acquisition once finalized in about 1 year. The expanded global reach Netflix would gain from this acquisition would be beneficial for the company to grow and give longevity to its current prosperity. GoGo Commercial Aviation currently services over 3,000 commercial aircrafts, equating to about 600,000 passengers. The airlines which include GoGo Commercial Aviation's features include American Airlines and Delta, to name just a few out of GoGo's total 20 partners. The expanded global influence Netflix would gain from this transaction would supplement your initiative to redefine your competitive advantage globally. Furthermore, any Netflix user can utilize GoGo's entertainment features when aboard any of GoGo's affiliated airlines for free. Not only will this acquisition expand Netflix's global influence, but the new customer base GoGo will contribute for Netflix would be a new demographic of subscribers with a higher disposable income, meaning hardships domestically for your users will not waver their loyalty from Netflix or increase their probability to unsubscribe. The average salary for a business class flying American is about $80,000. This would bring me to believe the average salary for a GoGo user to be about the same estimate. This salary increase would be $50,000 higher than that of the average Netflix user.
But Jordan, why would Intelsat sell their recently acquired asset?
Well, Janai, the satellite company filed for Chapter 11 back in late 2020, meaning there are $16 billion of debt caught up with them during the rampant COVID-19 pandemic. They did, however, acquire GoGo Commercial Aviation to help alleviate their debt, but with lingering effects of COVID-19 still present today in 2022, the return of their acquisition did not outweigh their $400 million purchase. Therefore, the acquisition of GoGo Commercial Aviation from their holding company Intelsat for $500 million would be a mutualistic transaction for both parties. Intelsat would garner their desired equity to offset their indebtedness, and Netflix would receive a new sector of business to display the large array of entertainments from the skies above. And now, if you enjoy sports, you'll love our next recommendation.
Jordan, I want you guys to imagine a single platform with the capability to stream every major sporting event live. With 90% of Americans watching sports, the sports broadcasting market is a competitive yet profitable market worth Netflix progressing into. Using their knowledge in streaming, Netflix could create a new separate sports app capable of airing live sports to the app subscribers. They could start off just in the US, but then could eventually start streaming to sports lovers around the world. Netflix's creation of a sports app would not only strengthen their relationship with North Americans, but would also give them a competitive advantage globally. The inevitable challenge with trying to stream sports is getting the expensive rights to broadcast. Netflix could avoid the hefty price tag by partnering with companies that already have the rights to stream sports, such as beIN Sports or Fubo TV. Netflix's venture into this market would be very profitable. Let's say Netflix start off just in North America for the first 2 years and expand globally after. Netflix have approximately 75 million North American subscribers. And if 10% of them subscribe to their new sports app, Netflix would have 7.5 million subscriptions. If these subscribers pay $15 monthly, Netflix's revenue after 2 years would be $2.8 billion. To find the profit, you must subtract the expenses: an upfront app development cost, an annual marketing cost, and an annual app maintenance cost sum up the total fixed expense cost of $7.2 million over the course of 2 years. For Netflix to stream sports, they would have to attain a partnership with Fubo TV. If we gave 25% of the revenue to Fubo TV, Netflix's expense cost after 2 years would be $710 million, leaving their profit at $2.1 billion. After year 2, Netflix would expand to global sports broadcasting. They would add an additional partnership with beIN Sports to make their broadcasting capabilities come full circle.
Hey, Braden, since the sporting app will have more sports, how will it affect the app's monthly cost?
That's a great question. Since our app will start streaming more sports, the app's subscription cost will be raised to $20 monthly instead of $15 monthly. The fixed expense cost over the next 3 years include a raised app maintenance and a raised app marketing cost, summing up to $31.5 million. If we gave 50% of the total revenue to both Fubo TV and beIN Sports, Netflix's total expense cost after 3 years would be $8.7 billion, leaving their profit at $8.6 billion. Over the course of our overall 5-year recommendation, Netflix will profit $10.7 billion. This recommendation not only amplifies Netflix's profit, but also amends their ascendancy worldwide. Since this recommendation was mainly profit-focused, let's switch gears and talk about subscriber retention.
Thank you, Braden. Social media has played a massive role in our society for decades because one of the many things it does is creates community. And Netflix could tap into that by adding a new public account feature. This will allow Netflix subscribers to make their recommendation list viewable to anyone. You can also include ambassadors like former President Obama, famous chef Gordon Ramsay, and even K-pop boy group BTS. This will bring their fan base who don't have Netflix to subscribe and watch their recommendation list and potentially stay. Let's use former President Obama, for example. His book, The Promised Land, sold 2.6 million copies. Assuming 5% purchase a Netflix subscription, that would be around 130,000 new subscribers for Netflix. And that alone would generate just shy of $2 million. This recommendation is low risk, it adds enhancement to the platform, and brings the Netflix community together. Moving right along into our next recommendation, I want you all to imagine. Imagine you just watched your favorite chef cook a delicious meal and wish you could make it yourself, and without facing the hassle of looking for each ingredient inside the grocery store. If only all the ingredients could be sent straight to your home. Well, a Netflix partnership with Instacart and a chef like Gordon Ramsay could make that a reality. Netflix could create a food cooking series and provide customers with an on-screen link or QR code to get direct access to the ingredients through Instacart, where all they would have to do is hit the purchase button. Buyers could get their ingredients within 2 hours and be ready to go. Instacart can even include deals that are a Netflix subscriber exclusive, like free delivery or 10% off. This recommendation caters to a new demographic of at-home cooks and women, and even bring a wave of Netflix subscribers to Instacart. Let's take Gordon Ramsay's YouTube subscribers, for example. He has around 19 million subscribers, and if 5% purchase a Netflix subscription, that would be around $14 million in revenue. A drawback could be meals that are too pricey for some, but Netflix will be sure to include a variety of meal price points so that everyone can enjoy them. Speaking of enjoyment, that brings me to our next recommendation. Everyone loves music, but hearing your favorite artist live is even better. However, everybody's not able to see them when they're in person, and watching a YouTube video from somebody's shaky phone isn't practical. Netflix could help solve this problem for fans by partnering with Live Nation. This partnership will allow Netflix to provide content from these concerts from anywhere between $30 to $60.
Hey, Janai, couldn't fans just skip the concert and go view it on Netflix?
While that is a concern, Netflix can combat this by having a local blackout so that anyone within a 200-mile radius can't view the concert for a limited time. In addition to that, those who buy the concert will only have access to it for 48 hours after purchase. Netflix subscribers will pay 30% of an artist's average ticket cost. Let's take R&B artist Normani, for example. Based on her Spotify monthly listeners, she has around 11.3 million fans. The average cost to see her in concert is $188, but Netflix subscribers will pay $30. If 5% of her fan base purchased, that would be around $17 million in revenue. Now, here's Jordan with our next recommendation.
Thank you, Janai. An additional proposal CTW Strategies is presenting to Netflix to help increase customer growth would be the creation of a Netflix Entertainment Festival. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, Netflix achieved unprecedented amounts of subscriber growth. Now, most would associate the surplus of subscribers due to COVID-19 lockdown restrictions hampering your users' ability to travel outside their homes. But with COVID dwindling by the day, most subscribers yearn for the enjoyment of Netflix streaming outdoors. We have a brief visual to present to you to help amplify your understanding of what the Netflix Entertainment Festival could look like. As the commercial said best, the fun is endless. My colleagues and I believe this entertainment festival could transcend Netflix to the next level. We all know and love Netflix for the entertainment that they provide behind the screen. Now imagine the infinite possibilities of the Netflix experience outdoors. This recommendation would also assist with customer retention and acquisition due to the enhancements it would provide for current Netflix users and the notoriety it would gain for non-Netflix users additionally. Furthermore, this recommendation would assist with their CSR, or their corporate social responsibility. The Netflix Entertainment Festival would incorporate minority-owned catering services, and 50% of all merchandise sales garnered from these festivals would go to helping marginalized communities in need of educational resources and collegiate resources. To help reinforce Netflix's CSR initiative, they would also gift free festival tickets to subsidized summer camps, providing the Netflix Entertainment Festival experience to all. This recommendation combines Netflix's goals of customer retention, brand outreach, and their CSR initiative. And lastly, our final recommendation we would like to provide for Netflix would be the establishment of a Netflix loyalty program. In the first quarter of 2022, January to March, Netflix posted their first quarterly earnings and revealed the streaming conglomerate's projected 2.5 million subscriber margin was utterly disillusioned by the reality of the 200,000 lost subscribers following the first quarter fiscal season. Additionally, Netflix projects to lose 2 million more subscribers by the end of this June. The downhill momentum for the streaming conglomerate is being exposed to the real world, and your competitors are wondering, is this the end to the streaming giant? No. And to solidify Netflix's dominance in the streaming war, we present a Netflix loyalty program. The program would be beneficial for Netflix due to the loyalty it will bind for your customers and the company. The program will work as follows. A user on the Netflix application would be rewarded based on the merit of hours spent per week on Netflix. The rewards for this program could include deals and discounted prices on the Netflix Instacart partnership, behind the scenes or sneak peek exclusives of Netflix original shows and movies, or free festival tickets to gift to yourself or others for when the event arrives in your area. The concept would be beneficial due to the loyalty it will bind for your users and your customers. It would work as follows. Higher and more fulfilling rewards would need higher watch times compared to less extravagant gifts and prizes, resulting in lower watch times. The concept of a rewards program to build loyalty is evident in companies such as Sephora, Walmart, Kroger, Home Depot. Why not integrate it into entertainment? And Netflix, being a company which takes pride in being innovative and revolutionary, would be the perfect streaming giant to gamify the streaming world. And now, let's move to financials.
Netflix implementing our recommendations will bring them a substantial increase in profit. Over the course of our overall total 5-year recommendations, Netflix would profit $12.5 billion, which is on average $2.5 billion annually. This would mean Netflix would observe a 50% increase in profit per year. Even though we have ideas profiting over $2 billion per year annually on average, we also have ideas yielding negative profit. Both the loyalty program and festival would be yielding a negative $10 million per year on average, but in return would significantly increase subscriber retention, would aid Netflix in building a stronger community, and would increase Netflix's longevity, increasing profit and subscribership in the process. These recommendations act as an investment into Netflix's community and future. In addition, our recommendations expand Netflix's global reach, allowing them to access more demographics of people and markets, increasing profit further. In light of recent news, Netflix is implementing ads onto their platform. Netflix could use the revenue from these ads to kickstart and fund the beginning of each of our recommendations. As you can see, the sports app is the most profitable app, holding about 87% of our profit. Netflix could use this immense increase in profit to start allocating money to pay off debt. And here are our recommendations ordered from most profitable to least profitable. Even though our recommendations do not minimally reduce expenses, both cost and risk are necessary for Netflix to stay as the most prominent player in the streaming market for years to come. And as you can see, we deeply considered each of the risks of our recommendations. Of course, the loyalty program is an acquisition, making it highly risky. However, shared accounts, or the go-go acquisition, is highly risky because it's an acquisition. although the shared accounts and loyalty program would be easy to implement and cater to original subscribers.
As you can see, my colleagues and I at CTW Strategies are confident that our recommendations will have an effect on Netflix that will reverse subscriber loss, expand your global reach, and ensure that you remain the streaming disruptor you've been known to be. To align with Reed Hastings' principles, we look forward to partnering with you and propelling you into this new chapter. This is, in fact, not the end of the streaming giant, and Netflix will continue to bask in triumph at the top of the streaming food chain. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes. You've recommended several programs. 7, I believe, are listed here. 2 of them are not profitable at all.
Mhm.
Why would you recommend 2 unprofitable programs for Netflix?
I'll take this one. That's a great question. I thank you for that question. Netflix has to start expanding their global reach. They have to increase their profitability by making more subscribers come to them. And they also have to they have to make a stronger community. And that's what hold on, go back to the slide. It's right here. And that's what these 2 programs would do. The festival would help building a stronger community, bringing people together in person. And the loyalty program would bond Netflix with their original subscribers, increasing subscriber retention.
I would like to add on to that. Netflix right now is expanding horizontally. For those of you who don't know, that means they're staying in their confined market base. Their competitors such as Amazon Prime, Google, Apple TV, they're expanding vertically into new markets. Netflix, in order to stay relevant and to stay above the status quo, needs to start doing the same as their competitors so they not go obsolete.
And I would also like to add that you have the sports program profiting $2 billion per year on average. So $10 million, a $10 million loss per year on average isn't that big of a dent.
So if we could lead off on sports app.
Mhm.
And typically in business where there's a profit, competitors are going to flock. So what's the likelihood of Netflix actually being able to exit that vertical and go into the sports when you have all kinds of competitors currently existing in the market?
That's a great question. Netflix would partner with 2 companies to bring majority of the sports app on one app. Majority of sports broadcasting on one app, which hasn't been done by competitors yet. Most competitors have only 2 or 3 major sports on their app. So you have companies that have just the MLB or MLS and NBA. Then you have companies with the NFL and the Premier League. But no company has them all together, which is why we feel like we would draw customers and they'll be able to enter that market.
Furthermore, with cable TV, when you're in a designated area, you only have access to those home teams. This sports app would integrate all national or global sports teams.
In regards to the Google acquisition, and you indicated, or the team indicated that, you get a different clientele of customers, those on longer trips. But the way GoGo has improved their service, if I can stream now, just signing in on an account, what additional benefit do I get from having Netflix as part of that mix?
So GoGo Commercial Aviation has a $7 fee if you want to stream data or other apps on their service. But we believe that this acquisition would allow Netflix users or GoGo users to stream Netflix for free, therefore expanding their global reach at a very limited cost for the users.
For GoGo, just to piggyback on that, what is the market share of the GoGo airlines that you listed?
So GoGo actually holds 9 of the top 10 global affiliated airlines in the entire world, including Delta, American, Frontier, and there's multiple more. So
The list was one here, which is great.
Yeah.
Just thinking of just as far as how much you can market.
So they
for
are
those airlines.
80%.
80%.
80%.
Okay, so that's pretty good. And then, how do you estimate, although we did see the amount of the average salary of those who are flying business class and all compared to those of the regular subscribers, how do you account for those who currently do not have Netflix at home to say that the
Thank you so much for that question. And for this acquisition, it would bring in GoGo's audience, and we believe those audience members currently have a Netflix subscription. So is your question saying how to garner new subscribers?
How to either garner new subscribers or where is your path to profit?
Okay, so our path to profit would be not only just GoGo's revenue, but the notoriety that Netflix would achieve from this, getting a new demographic of subscribers with a higher disposable income. Because as we said with the loyalty program, Netflix struggles with client retention due to increase in monthly costs. So with a higher income customer base, they would be less likely to unsubscribe.
So the acquisitions specifically, would Netflix have the capital to finance themselves, or would you look to the market?
So are you saying where would they find the money to do these acquisitions? So with Netflix just in the last couple hours actually implementing ads into their service, that the revenue from that could be designated to kickstarting a lot of our acquisitions and the sports app.
So how would they address the debt better so they sustain a lot of that?
So are you saying the debt that they would garner from the acquisitions?
That they're currently in now.
I
Okay.
guess.
So Netflix is currently in debt. So
Yes,
once
ma'am.
we bring in the profit,
Mhm.
is all the profit going
So,
to fund the rest of
As I said
the
earlier, the sports app makes about $2 billion on average annually. And Netflix could start allocating money from this immense increase in profit to start paying off their debt.
And we believe a good projected market would, or excuse me, good percentage would be 10% of all the profit from our recommendations to go to allocating for debt.
I believe you priced the sports app at $20 a month,
Mm-hmm.
which is higher than the current cost of the current Netflix subscription.
Well,
Their
yeah.
content that's already
Mhm.
available. Can you talk to me about your pricing strategy
Yeah, so
for the sports app?
this would be a completely separate platform, so it'd be a completely different subscription. And yeah, so $20 of your cable fee goes towards sports. So we thought that would be a good price point to implement into our app.
So it's a separate, I'm gonna have a separate deal for that particular launch.
Yes, sir. Just like how Disney Plus and ESPN Plus are separate, it would be kind of like that relationship. And
We
Netflix
also-
could, I was about to say, Netflix could implement bundle deals.
Yes.
Very bold.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I would have liked to have seen a visual that showed the most profitable to least profitable opportunities in comparison to their risk level. So I love that you have them on two separate
Mm-hmm.
screens. It would have been nice to have seen the scatter plot of what those opportunities look like, basing their profitability and the risk of the business. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, while the judges are deliberating, can I just ask all of you guys to remember our protocol? Leave the room, you cannot come back in until the presentation is over, and if you are outside of the room by the time we start, very nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Uh, So looking at the proposal, specifically the net kids, what makes you confident that you can draw market share greater than what's already out there, i.e. Disney Plus? Because in essence, that's who you're challenging, right?
Can you clarify the market share that you plan to get of the numbers that you had? You had for net kids, you had 47.7 million in the U.S. How much of that market share do you plan or do you estimate will come over to net kids and get a subscription, an add-on subscription?
Well, we think just that. We think that has the potential to get all the kids to come over because net kids could also be used in classrooms. They can be used for people to watch videos while in the classroom. They can be used to, again, help the children read books while in the classroom. And that will also help parents see that their kids are developing. So that will help them be able to bring that home so they can continue to develop.
Thank you.
So your research indicates that Netflix has approximately 200 million subscribers, paid subscribers. What research have you done to examine the total addressable market for video streaming services? What should that number be, that target number?
You said video streaming. Oh, whoa. You said video streaming service, right?
My question gets at really, all of your ideas here, the Z strategy, is about increasing subscriber growth. Netflix is currently at 200 million paid subscribers. What do you think that number should be?
Well, I think it should be.
Yes.
That's a good question, and I'm about to give you the answer. You ready? I feel like it should be in the billions. It shouldn't be in the millions. It should be in the billions. There's multiple new content always being made for Netflix, new originals and whatnot. And we're always hitting different age groups and different demographics. So I feel like it should be, if I want to give like a specific number, let's say about 3 billion.
3 billion.
3 billion.
Okay.
I'm getting big numbers because that's what I'm hoping to get from the Z strategy. Big numbers because we're giving you bang for your buck.
Thank you.
To add on to what my colleague is saying, NetClips would also bring subscriber growth to Netflix. If your favorite NetClips content creators say they have a 25 million number, like that's their following, right? Even if only a percentage of those people come over, you just increased about 10 million subscribers. So our solutions also add on to Netflix. They're not just, they are their own individual pieces, but they also help support the original brand, which is an important piece. That's it. Thank you.
Testing, testing.
Welcome. I'm Leanne. I'll serve as your proctor today for your presentation. Your judges today are Tamara Warren, Jeffrey Greer, and Jean Johnson. You'll have 25 minutes for your presentation. During your presentation, I'll indicate when you have 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, and 1 minute left. There will be a 10-minute Q&A session, and I'll indicate when you have 5 minutes and 1 minute left. Audience, once the presentation has begun, you're asked not to leave until the team has concluded their presentation, and please make sure your cell phones are silent.
Good afternoon. My name is Noah Colvin, and my team and I will be presenting our 2022 Netflix case presentation. Our agenda for today, we will go over our analysis, the strategy, financials, key takeaways, then lastly, we will open up the floor for a Q&A. Our presenting team is myself presenting the Scott analysis.
My name is Keith Walsh. I'll be going over aspects of our analysis and strategy.
My name is Kai Wasfall. I'll be going over the international opportunities.
And my name is Sarah Judd. I'll be covering financials and closing off today.
And we are Invictus Consulting Firm. I'll now turn it over to my colleague Keith to go over the first part of our analysis.
Thank you, Noah. We will begin our analysis with an industry analysis using the framework of Porter's 5 forces. The first force we'll be analyzing is the threat of new entrants. And currently for Netflix, the threat of new entrants is high, specifically the threat of major organizations entering the streaming service market. In the last couple of years, many of major organizations have been starting their own streaming services, removing some of Netflix's most watched content off the platform and putting it on their own services. The next force we'll be analyzing is the power of suppliers, which currently for Netflix is moderate. On one hand, as previously mentioned, many major organizations are starting their own streaming services, removing some of Netflix's most watched content. But on the other, Netflix has become a renowned and accomplished producer of content in their own right. Our next force we'll be analyzing is the threat of substitute products, which currently for Netflix is low, especially in Generation Z. In the last couple of years, average TV watch time for people in our generation has decreased immensely, and they have now turned to more other forms of consuming media, such as social media, streaming services, and other things like YouTube. The next force we'll be going over is the power of the buyers, which currently in the streaming service market is high. This is a combination of 2 aspects to why this is. The first being that there are no contracts between streaming services and the consumer, meaning that they are able to switch between services freely, unlike traditional cable TV. And the second aspect is that these services, many major organization services, have been launched around the same price, making the main difference between the services and the appeal of them based off the appeal of the quality of the content on the services rather than any other factor. And the last force we'll be analyzing is the competitive landscape, which currently for Netflix is high. Many major organizations have been starting their own streaming services, namely Disney+, HBO Max, and Apple TV+, which have all had success in their various arenas and been able to gain market share. This is a diagram of some of Netflix's biggest competitors, beginning with Disney+, who are strong because they have a very large amount of intellectual property, including Marvel and Star Wars. Next we have YouTube, which is strong because they're able to source user-created content onto their platform, meaning that they have an abundance of content for almost any audience. The next competitor is Apple TV+, which has produced some award-winning shows that have brought renown to the platform and have gained a hefty about 20 million subscribers. And the last competitor on the screen is basic cable TV. Although it has been dwindling in our generation, it still remains decently strong across the board in terms of viewership. And now I'll be transitioning to my colleague Noah to go over our Scott analysis.
Thank you, Keith. I'll now be going over our Scott analysis, identifying Netflix's strengths, challenges, opportunities, and threats. Netflix's first strength is strong leadership. Here at Invictus Consulting, we admire that CEO Reed Hastings has been serving for 20+ years. We also admire the hands-off approach to leadership, which allows employees to be self-sufficient and sparks creativity within the workplace. Next is a strong content delivery network. Netflix's current content delivery network is responsible for 100% of video traffic, and it's also responsible for 95% of all global traffic via direct connections. Netflix is widely known. I like to say that Netflix has transcended generations. I have memories of watching Netflix with my grandmother and even my great-grandmother. So at Invictus, we believe that Netflix has played its key role in inserting itself into the lives of the everyday American. And lastly, our last strength for Netflix is the ability to analyze what viewers want. Here at Invictus, we believe that Netflix has the potential and the ability to dig deep and really assess what their viewers want, producing products such as House of Cards, Squid Games, Stranger Things, and many other shows. Next is we have our challenges. Our first challenge is increased in cost. In 2017, the cost for a basic plan was $7.99. In 2019, that cost increased to $7.99, and as of 2022, that cost is $9.99. We believe that this increase in cost could cause current subscribers to cancel their subscriptions or future subscribers to not even make a subscription due to a lack of affordability. Next is more competition. In recent years, viewers have seen the rise of other streaming platforms such as Hulu, HBO Max, Disney+, Apple TV, and even some lesser known such as All Black and Zeus. Our last challenge is less big-name intellectual property than competitors such as Disney+, who has Marvel and Star Wars. Next, we will go over our opportunities. We believe that Netflix has an opportunity to increase social media presence. Netflix has a social media presence, but it's not as strong as we want it to be. I believe they could take advantage of social media to market and advertise their shows better. Next is expansion into international markets such as India, which we will cover later on in our presentation, content innovation and partnerships with established companies or new companies. And lastly, we'll go over Netflix's threats. Our first threat is streaming services with more intellectual property, such as Disney+, rising prices, which cause future and current subscribers to not have a subscription, and decrease in interest in originals due to lack of advertisement. The sort of buzz around these originals are decreased once people see what they really are. I'll now turn it over to my colleague Keith for our strategy.
Thank you, Noah. I'll be going over our strategy beginning with a roadmap of our main key points. First, starting with revitalizing the appeal of subscription, later moving on to improving the production and marketing of originals. Thirdly, we'll be going over investing in new content varieties. And lastly, we'll be going over expanding further into international markets. Beginning with our point of revitalizing the appeal of subscription. Netflix is the home of generationally defining content. But as of right now, many viewers are currently priced out as they are unable to afford a Netflix subscription at the current price. However, we at Invictus Consulting have a solution for this. If Netflix decides to include an ad-inclusive subscription tier at a lower price point on their platform, they will be able to gain an estimated 10 million new subscribers included in the tier. And using the estimated figure of about $7 in ad revenue per ad-supported subscriber, similar to the number that HBO Max is currently getting on their platform, it can be projected that Netflix would gain around $2.5 billion in revenue per year, raising the current revenue for 2022 up 21% to $14.4 billion, which is, we believe at Invictus Consulting that this recommendation presents immense value. Next, we have our handling and marketing of originals. And Netflix has heavily leaned into originals over the past couple of years. The purpose of originals is to attract and maintain subscribers. But as of Q1 of 2022, Netflix saw a historic subscriber loss for the first time in its history, which indicates that there's a problem with originals. And we at Invictus Consulting have identified a few main key reasons why we believe that originals are struggling and how we think that we can improve. The first being unprofitable and unpopular originals that Netflix has continued to invest in, even though many do not get past a second season and end up being a bottomless pit of money. And Netflix themselves have realized this, and according to a report from the Wall Street Journal, have actually planned to reduce the amount of originals they're producing and rather focus on the quality of the originals and appealing to exactly what the consumer wants. Our next point that we have analyzed is ineffective marketing. There's a problem with Netflix's marketing philosophy. In-house marketing is the main way that they believe marketing should be done, which is on the platform and on the homepage of Netflix. And in fact, many major releases outside of their most big names only receive short-term marketing about a month before release of their originals. And many other names that aren't as big actually do not receive little to no marketing effort before their release, which we believe at Invictus is a problem. The strategy of releasing and marketing content on the main page is not effective in showing the smaller content that Netflix does house, as there's not enough space on the homepage for each content, for each original to get what it deserves, and for Netflix to get the return on investment that it deserves in the form of subscribers. So we at Invictus Consulting believe that Netflix should take a new marketing approach, using cross-platform marketing on platforms such as TV across YouTube, similar to Disney Plus's ad campaign for their Disney Plus shows. And we even believe at Invictus Consulting that they should gain contracts with toy makers and even fast food giants such as McDonald's to promote their child-oriented shows that have been underserved because they have not been marketing them in a way that many major organizations such as DreamWorks have been marketing their child-oriented content. And our last point about when it comes to the release of originals is that we believe Netflix should adopt weekly releases. According to Parrot Analytics, about 62% of the top 50 new shows released in the last year were released on a weekly schedule, which represents a 200% increase in that number from the same time in 2020. Netflix came up on the binge releasing model, but it has become outdated as the years have gone by. If Netflix wants to continue to evolve and keep their content relevant, they need to adopt a weekly release schedule. And some of the benefits of a weekly release schedule is that it maintains hype over a longer period of time rather than the current trend with Netflix shows, as is shown, that they spike in popularity when they're first released, but then a few weeks later, they're pretty much irrelevant. In contrast to shows like HBO Max's Euphoria or other major shows that maintain hype over an extended period of time. Next, we will be moving into our point of investing in new content varieties, starting with investing in HBCU athletics. The top 3 schools in terms of exposure, North Carolina A&T, Texas Southern, and Norfolk State University, combined to over $750,000 in exposure, according to number crunchers and athletic officials at the 3 HBCUs and one of the conference offices. And not only did they, additionally, they sent athletes to the most prolific stages on earth, including Trevor Stewart and Randolph Ross, both track athletes from North Carolina A&T, who went on to the Olympics to compete and won 2 gold medals and a bronze medal, bringing glory to HBCU athletics, which is traditionally underappreciated in the streaming service market. And currently, there is no other major organization involved with HBCU streaming, live sports streaming, and Netflix has the opportunity to become one of the biggest players and serve an underserved market that has been historically disrespected by many major organizations. Next, we have an acquisition and merger with CuriosityStream. This is an extremely profitable venture for Netflix, because of the fact that CuriosityStream is an extremely innovative platform founded in 2015 by Discovery Channel founder John Hendricks. And the value behind CuriosityStream is that it serves a market that is neglected by other major streaming services, which is educational documentary content, as they have a much more robust documentary collection than Netflix, with over 2,000 plus documentaries on their platform. And currently, CuriosityStream is operating in zero debt, and they're valued about $97 million, which would make Netflix purchasing them a dent in the annual $17 billion they spend on content over the last 2 years. CuriosityStream has access to over 20 plus million subscribers on their platform, and they're an extremely profitable, they're an extremely growing service with about 80% yearly revenue growth on the year. Netflix has the ability to invest in this platform and make it something greater than it already is, and use its content, whether it be in deals with schools, teaching kids, using CuriosityStream's extreme educational content, or in other higher learning institutions. I'll now be transitioning to my colleague Kai to go over our international opportunities for Netflix.
Hello, my name is Kai Waswa, and I'll be going over our international opportunities for expansion and what we at Invictus Consulting believe should be the best path forward for Netflix, and for multiple reasons, including its 1.3 billion population, its booming local film industry, and its rapidly growing streaming service market. We at Invictus Consulting believe Netflix India to be our #1 prospect for the upcoming future. But despite all these facts, Netflix India launched 6 years ago and has only seen minimal success. So in order to understand why, let's take a look back. So it launched in 2016 at around $7.50 compared to Hotstar's $1.90 and Amazon Prime Video's $3, meaning that they initially targeted a smaller, more wealthy audience. And in 2018, Netflix India saw its first critical success, being the hit show Sacred Games, which went under to gather international acclaim from New York Times, which claimed it as one of the best foreign-made shows of the last decade, and which Netflix India claimed is the most watched locally produced show of that year. And in 2021, in an effort to spur more subscriber growth after the success of Sacred Games, Netflix India cut prices to around $2.50 in an effort that was ultimately ineffective, as you can see here in 2022, in which only 5.5 million users are signed up for the service in comparison to Amazon Prime Video's 22 million and Hotstar's 46 million. So, meaning they're trailing far behind in third. So why has Netflix struggled so far in India? We at Invictus Consulting managed to narrow it down to a few key ideas, with the first one being a lack of diversity and variety. So majority of the content on Netflix India is foreign content, with only around 10% being local Indian content, in comparison to Hotstar's, which around 69.3% is local Indian content. And majority of the local Indian content is produced in Hindi, which is only one of the major 22 languages of the country. So this means that when Indians are seeking a suitable replacement for live TV, which is relatively cheap in India, at only around $2 to $3, they're much more likely to choose Hotstar. So we believe that Netflix India should focus on acquiring streaming contracts to local shows, as well as diversifying their content by expanding regionally rather than nationally, as we cannot treat Netflix in India the same way as it does in other monolingual Western nations. And this directly ties into our next recommendation, which is the implementation of more local executives with ties to Bollywood. So in Netflix in India, there's generally a problem with the executives that they already have. For example, in 2019, a $10 million production was canceled after one executive in particular disliked what she saw. And this eventually led to increasing production costs. The main actress left, and the show was left all but canceled. So we at Invictus believe that Netflix cannot afford to spend this much money on shows that ultimately end up in failure. So we believe that Netflix should focus on finding local executives with connections to Bollywood that understand what their producers want and give them the platform to do with what they please. And our last suggestion is the implementation of live sports in order to raise the value of Netflix in India, because currently the competitors Hotstar and Disney Plus, they each provide access to live sports, specifically cricket, which is the most valuable and biggest sport in India. As you can see up there, the value of the biggest league, which is the Indian Premier League or the IPL, sits around $6.2 billion, meaning the market is massive, and there's a big audience waiting for that kind of content on Netflix. So our last suggestion is that we implement the IPL, stream some of their games, as well as other international tournaments in foreign countries such as Bangladesh, New Zealand, and Pakistan, and allow viewers of Netflix in India to stream these games. This is an effort to catch up with the competition and just eat into the market that they're currently missing out on. And now I'll transfer over to my partner, Sarah, who will take us over the financials.
Thank you, Kai. Yes, and as he said, I will be covering the financials for today. But first, a look at where we've been before we decide where we're going. This first graph illustrates the debt-equity ratio for Netflix as of Q1 in 2022, around March 31st of this year. The long-term debt for Netflix was valued at $14.5 billion. The shareholders' equity at this corresponding time was $17.5 billion. This yields a debt-equity ratio of 0.83. Now, the debt-equity ratio is a significant metric in finances because it explains how capable a business is at outweighing their expenses with how much money they're able to make, or the liabilities with their assets. Seeing as over the past 5 years, from 2017 until now, Netflix's debt-equity ratio has dropped barely below 1 as of now, it's evident that something may need to change. This second graph illustrates the subscribers for Netflix as it relates to their original content spending forecasted over the past 8 years. It can be interpreted from this graph that as the original content spending increases, the amount of new subscribers also increases. As my colleague Keith had stated before, Netflix originals are what makes Netflix unique. After all, who hasn't heard of, man, the dating scene has been revolutionized by Netflix and chill. I mean, this next graph illustrates the market capitalization or market cap for Netflix. Around the release of Squid Games and last year, around November, December, Q4 of 2021, it was at about $267 billion. However, over the next 5 months, faced a staggering decline to almost $81.27 billion as of May 9th of this year. On June 24th, 2022, at market closing time, Netflix's market cap was valued at $84.8 billion. This final graph illustrates the Netflix new subscriptions as it relates to growth rates nationally and internationally. Starting in 2013, Netflix's growth rate was at 23.1%, shown by the green line on the graph. However, later trended all the way down to 0.2% in the coming decade. It can also be interpreted from this graph by looking at the blue line, that internationally, Netflix growth has almost stagnated and could probably seek to increase. That's why we, as Invictus Consulting, proposed this plan. Now I'd like to take you to our forecasting sheet. We estimate a total of $205.4 million in revenue with a growth rate of 7.9%. This is, of course, the short-term model of between 2022 and 2026. It does not account for the revenue in the long term that we propose to be $1.2 billion in revenue from new subscribers of weekly releases, the ad-inclusive subscription plan revenue of $2.5 billion, the sports streaming of Indian Premier League, India Bollywood, and also HBCU sports streaming revenue of $1 billion, and the acquisition of CuriosityStream, which would be about $0.5 billion or $500 million starting in 2023. The cost related to this would also not start until 2023. So now I'd like to summarize with a couple key takeaways. As Invictus Consulting, we firmly believe that through revisiting the content marketing, offering a competitive ad-included price point, investing in emerging talent, both here in the United States with HBCU Sports and internationally through the customer market in India, and also the acquisition of CuriosityStream, will take Netflix's prospective house of cards into a titanium skyscraper. Now I'd like to finish off with a rhetorical question. What is Netflix? Is it a content delivery network that will bring your favorite sitcoms from the 90s straight to the comfort of your own couch? Is it a content-driven data analytics company that relies on the assessments from their customers to determine their marketing? Is it a content-producing company that has come out with a lot of great shows over the past year and will bring the entire family together on a Friday night in front of the TV with a big bowl of popcorn? Here at Invictus Consulting, we assert that Netflix can be all of those things. Invictus is also the Latin word for undefeated, and we believe that through our strategy, Netflix will remain undefeated in the global marketplace. We open the floor for questions, and thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you again. So I'm interested in the emphasis you have internationally on sports in India. And I know you have the HBCU, stateside. Did you consider any other expansion of sports within the U.S.?
Well, according to recent news, Netflix has actually already attempted to expand into Formula One racing. However, this has not gone extremely well for Netflix, as Formula One racing is a very big bidding market, and also many other streaming services are bidding for it. And generally in the United States, most major leagues, whether it be the WNBA, the NBA, or the NFL, have streaming contracts for the next 5 to 8 years. And one of the things that we were charged with in this case was coming up with solutions that would return the most yield while also being the cheapest. But we believe that many of the leagues in the United States that have been having major bidding wars and have had contracts for over 5 to 8 years would cost a whole lot for Netflix to acquire, and that is not what we were looking for when it comes to acquiring sports streaming.
Keith, I believe you covered the section on marketing and release of originals.
Yes.
You have a recommendation to move to adopt weekly releases. That is a huge change from where Netflix has been and where they adopted their largest subscriber growth. I'd like to hear a little bit more about why you're confident in that strategy.
We are actually confident in that strategy because recalling some of the data that was on our presentation, about 62% of the top 50 new shows were released on a weekly release schedule, as well as, which is a 200% increase from the same time in 2020. And one thing that Netflix has struggled with recently is that many of their originals is that when they are first released, especially you can look with the most data, which is Google search data trends, they spike around the release of the original, but after a couple weeks, 2 months, the data, the amount people are searching for is almost zero. Compared to HBO Max shows, which release on a weekly schedule, which have been shown that over a long period of time, they maintain relevance as each new episode is dropped over a series of weeks to months. And we think that if Netflix wants to continue to evolve and be able to maximize the effectiveness of their originals and attracting and maintaining customers, that they need to adopt a weekly release schedule.
Isn't that one of their points of differentiation? That they allow for binge watching?
Well, it may be different for Netflix, and it may makes them stand out for the competition. We've noticed that it's just ultimately ineffective, as we can see in the Google Trends data. And it also allows people to basically have free trials to subscriptions and view all the content in one go, as opposed to watching it over a spread out period of time.
Thank you very much.
So going back to India, one of the approaches obviously was to diversify. And I think you mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, there were 21 different languages in the country?
About 22. 22.
So is it Netflix plan to actually issue content in all separate languages?
Our plan, I'll start off, is our plan for, and Victus's plan for Netflix is that we want to increase the amount of content that is produced in other local Hindi languages. Amazon, Netflix, because of the fact that they only released in one language out of the 22, and also that they do not have, they're only about 10% local content. It means that they're not a local streaming service for India, and that if they want to truly become a service that is for India and that local consumers can digest without feeling that they're going to a Western service, they need to be able to expand further into language. So our plan would not be that we need to have specifically every single language represented in an equal amount of shows on Netflix India, but it would rather be to diversify and include more amounts of content for convenience when it comes to a local Indian customer watching their Netflix. Yeah, thank you.
Your idea for the acquisition of CuriosityStream piques my interest. I'm curious, what is the cost of CuriosityStream today for their subscribers?
Currently for CuriosityStream, the cost is around $2.99 and
per month.
Yeah, per month, and they have their cost is for the year. A yearly plan is about $67 per year, and this has contributed to their massive subscriber amount. But if they partner with Netflix, Netflix is already a huge name brand, and CuriosityStream actually is not a well-known brand among people who are not interested in educational documentary content. So we believe partnering with Netflix would allow CuriosityStream to have access to a whole lot more viewers that would be able to take use of the educational content on CuriosityStream, and also Netflix could utilize it in multiple different ways, as we previously mentioned, including it in schools or in other institutions of learning.
Thank you.
did you, because I got 9 teams already. So somebody might have came from your team.
Okay, I just want to give a few logistics for the rest of the afternoon. So for the students who are participating in Blue Blazer, if you could head over to the award ceremony, we're going to do the Blue Blazer rehearsal right after this. For those of you who are not participating in Blue Blazer, you can go back to your dorms. Again, the attire for tonight is business or Sunday's best. So you guys already look great, so you can just go and, refresh. For the Blue Blazer students, right after your rehearsal, we will have the bus to take you back to actually pick up your blazers for those of you who did not bring them with you. Just keep in mind, you have a very short window of time. So you need to grab your blazers and come back. For the group photo, we will take the group photo right after dinner tonight. So we're just catching up on a little bit of time. So again, those of you who are participating in Blue Blazer will head over to the award ceremony. For those of you who are not participating, you can take the bus back to your dorm. I do want you to keep in mind that for tonight, the after party, we will be shuttling to and from the dorms for you to change, but the longer you take, the more time you're cutting into your after party time. So grab comfortable shoes, but I would not spend a lot of time changing. Any questions for me? No, so if you do not have your Blue Blazer with you, regardless, you need to go over to the Blue Blazer rehearsal. After rehearsal, for those of you who did not bring them, you'll have a chance to go back and get them, but that is a very short window of time. So they need to grab them and go. Casual. It's the after party.